controversial practice that has ordinary citizens squaring off with the NYPD on a daily basis. Opposition to the stop and frisk program has swelled in recent days and weeks. Several police officers themselves have blown the whistle on the program, saying that the department is forcing them to meet quotas to provoke innocent civilians. Now, up until this point, there have been a lot of allegations and little evidence of wrongdoing. Until now, 2 recordings have made their way into the spotlight, each telling a different narrative about the program. The first is an audio from an NYPD officer where his superior told him who to target. He says, quote, "I have no problem telling you this. Male blacks, and I told you this at roll call, and I have no problem to tell you this, male blacks 14 to 21 in age." Now, the second is a recording of a young man's encounter with police officers. It's the first recording of its type.
You want to go to jail?
For what?
Shut your mouth.
Why am I getting arrested for?
Shut your mouth.
What am I getting arrested for?
For being a mutt, you know?
2 tapes that leave 2 very big holes in the credibility of this program. The stepfather of the young man featured in the second tape joins me now to talk about the NYPD's Stop and Frisk program. Jose LaSalle is an organizer against Stop and Frisk. Hi there, Jose. So let's first of all talk about your stepson's encounter with the police. What were your initial thoughts when he showed you this recording of the officers harassing him?
To be honest, I was infuriated. I mean, his mother was so traumatized by what happened. I mean, we were just so pissed off, and it was confusing because we have a young man, my stepson Alvin, who was an explorer up the 25th precinct. And then to, a young man that wanted to be a cop himself, but to get treated like this, it was traumatizing. It left the whole family and everybody that heard how he was talked to and how he was treated was confused and traumatized over the whole situation. We just didn't believe it really happened.
And I can imagine that Alvin was pretty shaken up as well.
Well, I mean, after that happened, and we used to drive around, and he used to be so nervous in the back of the car. If police was behind us, he was like so nervous because he thought police was, I don't know, I think he thought that they was either looking for him or trying to find them. He felt real threatened by them because he was always nervous in the car when police was either, saying to my left or my right when I was driving or behind. And, it started affecting us as well because we did not like to see him like that. So, we spent a lot of time talking to him and letting him know that, he needs not to be afraid.
And has he ever been stopped and frisked before, or have any of his friends?
Well, the dilemma really started that he came and he told me that police keeps harassing him. So, I kind of said, since you're always walking around with your iPhone, why don't you download this recording app, which he did. And he downloaded the app, and I told him, whatever you do, you have the right to continue to ask questions. Do not stop asking them questions, because the minute you start asking them questions, I felt that would be the minute that they would either take more advantage of him or lock him up. I told him, stand your ground and keep asking questions. Like, why are you being stopped? You have the right to do that. I didn't know he was going to, he did he did what no one expected him to do. He stood there, he asked questions, and we were just thankful that it didn't turn out to be something else, something, worse.
And we know that both Mayor Bloomberg as well as Police Commissioner Ray Kelly have touted this program as a good thing. The whole point of this program is to reduce crime rates, but there is a certain amount of blowback. Critics say that these young men that are being stopped are not going to be comfortable going to police when they really do need help. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, after that happened to my stepson, and after I started noticing it happening to my nephews and other kids in the neighborhood, I started to really see that it was becoming a big problem. I really didn't pay too mind to it because, as myself, it happened to me so many times growing up that I thought it was normal, it was part of my culture. But, once it started affecting me when I was seeing it happen to other people, I realized that it was a big problem. So I decided to find some type of group that I could get involved with. And, when I found that group that was fighting against Stop and Frisk, I decided to get involved with that. And, I've been a fighter against it from October 21st all the way to now, nonstop. And I think that, that it has made the community very unsafe because no one, especially the youth, they do not trust the police. They are more afraid of the police than they're afraid of anything that might be happening in the neighborhood that is negative. So police has been in the neighborhood and put a lot of fear in these kids. I mean, even Ray Kelly made a statement one time that he said that he wants these kids to, when they leave their home, he wants them to be afraid that they're going to be stopped, questioned, and frisked.
It's interesting that they're more afraid of the police officers than they are of any harm that could befall them on their journey to wherever they're going. Now, meanwhile, some of the police officers have actually turned into whistleblowers, as I mentioned earlier, saying that they are forced to essentially have these kind of quotas, although quotas are, the term quotas for police officers is banned in New York City. So do you think that it is a cultural problem within the NYPD or an individual officer problem?
Well, I think the whole department, I mean, even if you're an officer that is being forced to do it, you know, you have the right not to do something that is not moral, something that it bothers you, that bothers your conscience. And that's what some of these officers are doing, is psychologically bothering them, to be forced to do this. And they know it's wrong. So that's why, I'm happy that there is some of them coming out and speaking against it. And there's others, they're afraid because they're under a lot of pressure. They have families to feed, they got children to take care of, so they're under a lot of pressure. So, I understand, but still, there's no justification to go into any community and harass people or target people just because you're trying to make quotas or make a certain amount of tickets. I mean, yesterday I heard on trial that they have something that, the officers tell them, 2 and 20, go out there and get 2 arrests today and get 20 summonses. I mean, they really, it's really a lot of pressure on both sides.
And certainly this videotape that your stepson made is shedding light, unlike we've ever seen before on this program. We'll have to see how his case plays out in the courts. Jose LaSalle, organizer against Stop and Frisk and stepfather of Alvin, the boy that you saw in that video. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.